All right, folks, if you're into thermography and you want to be a certified thermal electrician, there are certain calculators that we have created for your use that are going to set you apart from everybody else. Let's get into that in this episode and find out which calculators can help you the best.
Welcome to the Master of the NEC podcast, the ultimate destination for anyone passionate about the electrical trade. Whether you're a seasoned electrician, an eager apprentice, or just someone who wants to dive deep into the world of electrical work, you've come to the right place. Join your host, Paul Abernathy, a true authority in the industry with over 38 years of trade experience, as he electrifies your mind with in-depth discussions, expert tips, and valuable insights that will keep you ahead of the curve. Each episode, Paul will illuminate the complexities of the trade, decode the National Electrical Code, and share the latest industry trends, all while empowering you to take your electrical career to the next level. So, gear up, plug in, and get ready to supercharge your knowledge, because with the Master of the NEC podcast, the power is in your hands. Now get ready. Here is your host, Paul Abernathy.
What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Master the NEC, the podcast where I talk about all things electrical. Doesn't matter. In fact, today we're going to be talking about thermography and various calculators that we've created for the use of electrical thermal imaging, and a little bit about each one and how you can use them. And they're available over on our website, thermalelectrician.com. Now, you might say, look, I already do thermal imaging. That's great. We have some tools for you, and you may already be certified. But you're going to see a big trend moving towards thermal imaging. And for those that are electricians, being able to become a certified thermal electrician, or a CTE, is going to get more and more important as we partner with some industry leaders. For example, Milesy, who is making some amazing sets of thermal imaging cameras. And they're definitely a leader in that area of development, and they're worldwide. I mean, they produce these cameras as well as other measuring devices all over the world. And we've partnered with them, and we're excited about that. And so, there's a reason for it. And there's a reason we really sought this kind of collaboration and partnership to be able to merge the two companies into the educational wing and the product wing. And we definitely know that they have the best thermal imaging cameras, especially the most affordable for what they bring to the industry. And we're going to be talking about that in upcoming videos that we're going to be doing here in the next couple weeks. We're going to be talking about the TR20 Pro, which is my go-to in the field. I wish I had it years ago. And then, of course, we have a 384C, which is an amazing thermal imaging camera with some amazing features like Wi-Fi, and you can actually send it to another camera to have a third party be reviewing it on a larger screen. It's just some great features that are built into it. Camera, and again, the TR20 Pro has dual cameras, so you can get a visible as well as the IR image. Anyway, great stuff. We're going to be going over all of that down the road in that type of thing. So it's one of those things that we're going to produce those things and make them available to people. Okay, that's what we're going to try to do. All right. So, all right. Without further ado, let's get into it today. What we're going to be talking about: have you ever, as an electrician or somebody using a thermal imaging camera, stood in front of a piece of equipment that's energized and wondered to yourself, am I actually measuring what I think I'm measuring? If that's ever run through your head, or you see these videos and these things of people using thermal imaging cameras, and you watch it, and you'll even see some electricians promoting it on social media, and they only just talk about the colors, right? They talk about the different rainbows of palettes and the hot spots and all these type of things. And at the end of the day, you can tell by the way they discuss it that they really probably don't use it day in and day out, or understand things in the field, like how reflection can affect the total output, or distance Extremely important to understand the distance and your measuring distance and the limitations. I've seen people hold these things up and use them and try to do things at vast distances, and they don't understand that these are tools and they do have limitations. And you have to be aware of these limitations. And if you're not educated on them, you're just buying a toy, and it's just a toy. It doesn't do anything for you. And to get the most accurate reading, even if you do want to get into this industry or add it to your existing portfolio, and whether you're doing it at a very small level in residential to give a service to your residential customer on a normal service call or things like that, or if you're looking at an HVAC equipment and you're looking in it and you're looking at capacitors and you can tell by heat signatures and what's going on, these can be very powerful tools. But if you don't understand it, you're just spending money, right? It's valuable money. So you have to understand how to use these. So what this episode we're going to try to do is kind of introduce you to explaining the problems of unit confusion, distance errors, emissivity mistakes, and kind of misleading images. But that's why thermal cameras don't make you a professional. Decision making does. Learning how to interpret what you see, that's going to be the difference, right? And so you buy a camera, or you may have been doing this for many years, and you may have made claims that maybe haven't come back to backfire on you, or maybe you've told people, hey, you've got to replace this piece of equipment, or this is about to go, or this is just a ticking time bomb. In reality, it's very hard for us as a electrical thermographer to make those claims. All we can do is kind of lead them down a path and monitor, and there's some signs that we can look for. But you got to be very careful. And so there are a lot of people out there, and I've got some examples of some articles that people put out on social media and other things like LinkedIn, which they held themselves off as experts, and that's okay. I get it. There's a lot of experts for everything, but the information they were given wasn't accurate. And so it's real important with us is when we partner with a major manufacturer of thermal imaging cameras, and we are going to be the technical training aspect of it, that you understand that we want to go very deep into the product and its use so that you totally understand how to use it. That's the key. But also how you can look at something and make informed decisions to educate your client. And one of the big advantages to thermal imaging that people aren't talking about is preventative maintenance and ongoing monitoring, and documenting it properly, and how to set up your camera, and how to do this so it's repetitive every 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, however you set your plan up. So it's really important. Okay. So that's kind of some of the stuff we want to talk about today a little bit. Okay. Number one, let's talk about this, the real problem in the field. We're going to talk about the cameras reported. A lot of times people get confused is that they have cameras and they report in meters. And the electricians, we think in feet. Okay. We're dealing with Imperial, and you're dealing with products that typically are made overseas. So they're going to come in metric. And obviously, that is sometimes harder. A lot of the machines don't change that. They keep it in the meters, and you want it in feet. Okay. And then there's a temperature deal where a lot of places in the world use Celsius. We typically want to have it in Fahrenheit, right? So you're going to be making changes in your unit to make sure that you're getting something that is consistently replicable every time you use it. Now, technicians not understanding the spot size, the pixel resolution, and the distance effects when they try to take a reading can get some very misleading information, and they don't understand the importance of how their thermal imaging camera works, right? So, why misinterpretation causes, again, wrong severity calls, okay? So there can be false alarms, there can be missed failures, there can be loss of customers' trust because they literally don't understand what your camera is telling you, right? And it's not as easy as people think. I mean, you just look at an image and you think that's it. It tells a story. Well, it tells you colors. It tells you patterns. It tells you palettes. It tells you hot spots. But is that spot too hot? Or is that typical under a load condition? And so at the end of the day, nothing's going to trump knowledge. And that's what we're trying to spit out to you. And that's what our programs do. We try to spit out that knowledge so that you can go into this. And again, nothing's going to take the place of you practicing and looking at images, even Googling images and online and find images and use somebody else's images and try to translate what may be going on. All that stuff is just going to make you better. Okay. It's just going to make you better. Obviously, every piece of equipment is different. But again, the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it, okay? Okay, now let's get into this. Why do we create these calculators? Why do they exist? Okay, why do we put them on our websites and create mobile apps for thermal electricians or certified thermal electricians? Why do we do this in not just for our program, but make them available to other folks over at thermalelectrician.com? If you're into thermal imaging. Again, because our courses teach you to understand things like the delta T and the peer review and emissivity and all these type of things. But at the end of the day, sometimes you need calculators that can make life a little easier in the field when you got all these numbers to deal with. And so we create these calculators, and we're also creating mobile apps that actually make it very easy to get to these different calculators and guides and things like that on our websites, but through our mobile apps. So we don't build these just for academics, right? Just so we could build these things. No, we build these because electricians that are doing thermography in the field, they need answers now, not Google searches. Okay. Now you could be using TradeHog. If you don't know what TradeHog is, it's the world's first and by far more superior. In fact, I got something the other day from somebody that says that NFPA had something in Link that was an AI model, and it wasn't even close to being as good as ours. And it can't be because of how we develop our model. TradeHog is just the most advanced AI tool. Why pay the money if you're in the trade? Why pay the money for ChatGPT when you can get TradeHog and get the best of everything, plus have it tailored to your business? We have what's called the Office Hog, and we have what's the TradeHog, and soon we'll be adding the Crazy Hog, which is basically just like a regular ChatGPT. You can ask it anything, that type of thing, but that's being launched very soon, and it's going to be available to those that are in the basic and the premium level. Not the light level, but the basic and premium. So they get it. It's just another reason why you don't need to pay that monthly fee to ChatGPT, which comes back with generic terms when ours is going to be very specific and designed for use and being very concise. So again, they're just another model out there. We have our own model, and there's another model, and ours just uses many, many, many other inputs. Okay, not just values from ChatGPT, but other things, prompts that we put in, data that we upload. So it's constantly evolving. So there are places that you can ask many, many different types of questions. But a lot of times, if you're going through like a thermography program, whether it's a level 1, level 2, level 3, whatever it may be, for thermal electricians, you're pretty much geared towards a level 1 because, again, we're very specific to electricians. You need those questions answered, and a lot of times it's distance that you're worried about, and understanding severity and the different levels of that. And we create these calculators and these tools, resources to help you constantly. And that's just what we do. Nobody else does it like that. I don't know any other certification program that offers the tools that we offer, even if you're not in our program. Okay, so it's just an amazing resource over on our website, thermalelectrician.com. Now, I build them because electricians need them. They need those answers now. Okay, and so that's why we do it. So we're going to talk about a few of the calculators that we have. There's a bunch more on there. There's a bunch of guides. There's a bunch of other things on there that you can check out as well. But we're just going to talk about a few of them today. All right. So the first calculator that I will talk about today is our meters to feet and inches converter. This may sound like a simple tool if you're out there and you know how to convert meters into feet and inches, okay, from metrics to imperial. If you already know that, then this is just a convenient tool. And why is it important? Well, the vast majority of the thermal cameras today are built overseas. Okay, they just have the technology and it can do the production, and they've gotten so good now. And they're the reason why cameras have dropped from $20,000 now down to affordable. That makes it a no-brainer for your whole crew to have their own camera. Why? Well, most of these cameras have an output, and their distance is meters. And while you can change things like the temperature, Fahrenheit and Celsius, which we'll talk about in a minute, you really, in many cases, can't change the output in meters. And it's important because you need to understand distances. And when you're measuring a lug's temperature versus a piece of gear, a motor, there's different distances that are extremely important. In fact, it's a good opportunity for me to explain that over on our website, thermalelectrician.com, we have a blog series. Now, it's underneath the main home screen. You click home, you'll see a drop down, and you'll see a link that says blogs. We write a lot of blogs on all kinds of topics, and many of you out there probably don't do blogs. You don't like to read blogs, but in this profession, I would recommend that you start getting used to taking the time and read blogs, especially if they're technical blogs. We spend a lot of time creating these blogs, and they're educational blogs. Unlike the blogs that we may have on other sites that we produce, as y'all know, Electrical Code Academy, we have the exam prep, electrician courses, training, grounding, and bonding. But this division that deals with thermography for electricians, all of the blogs and articles that we write are very informative, and they've been vetted very well, and they're tailored around what you need to know in this profession. If you're an electrician, you want to add thermography to your scope, you need to read these. You need to understand them and bookmark it, because we're always coming up with new blogs. And so you definitely want to be abreast of them when they come out. But there's a great article that I wrote there about understanding distances and the importance of distances when it comes to things like lugs and motors and housings and all these type of things. So it's very beneficial. But one of the things that we do is realize that sometimes on the fly, we need an easy way to convert. And so while your camera, especially if you're doing a report, your camera may say 0.3 or 3.0 meters, but you just can't equate that in your head to inches and feet. And that can be important, especially when you're doing reports or understanding the distances, especially in the course, because it'll give you recommended distances for taking certain readings and then how to quantify those readings. A lot of people think that that's just, you can do thermal imaging at an infinite distance and get accurate readings. That's just not the case. You'll get images, but you won't get what you need to be accurate. And that's the key here, right? Anybody can just throw images, but we want accuracy, okay? So we created a quick calculator, a quick tool that will do that. And again, the reason for that is because vast majority of the thermal cameras are going to give you an output in meters. And we want to translate that into what people are used to seeing, because electricians, we think feet, we think inches. Even when we use the National Electrical Code and we know that it's got a metric in it and it's got the imperial. And at the end of the day, we always use feet and inches and things like that. We do not use millimeters and meters, even though they're in the code. And it's just not something that we're accustomed to. So rather than make a mistake and misjudge distances, and at the end of the day, what we train you in a lot of these course material, as well as in our blogs, is that distance really matters because it corrupts what we call the spot size and the temperature accuracy if your distance is off. So understanding the distances accurately, especially in the other tools that we have where it's going to ask you to put in a certain distance, you need to make sure that you're putting it in accurately. And so creating a simple tool for that just reduces the mistakes, right? The next one was a very simple temperature tool. I'm sure you have, this is probably on your phone. You probably already have it, but we wanted to put it in a place where it's just easy, is understanding Celsius to Fahrenheit converter, global. camera firmware versus US reporting. Sometimes most of these cameras you can change from Celsius to Fahrenheit in the system itself. But again, it eliminates this math equation that can cause a problem if you don't understand it. So we just create a simple tool to make it easier for you to be able to do that. And it's just makes life a little easier to have that tool, right? So the next one we have is a spot size and distance ratio calculator. Okay. Now, why is this important? Well, to be honest with you, distance is everything. And the further you move away from something you're measuring, is the results start to get more suspect. And so you move closer to quantify your results, obviously staying within the safe working environment, following PPE if that you need to follow. But distance is everything, and understanding how to set your thermal imaging camera correctly for the distance that you're working with is so important. So this calculator is how to calculate. It prevents false conclusions. In other words, it kind of lets you readjust or reevaluate your distances based on the spot size. Maybe you're doing a small lug and you want to make sure that you're really focusing on this lug or this termination. And so again, distance is everything. We have a neat little article that explains that over in our blogs as well, for those that are confused by spot sizing and distance ratio and all this kind of stuff. But we give you a nifty little calculator that allows you to be able to do that. Okay. Also, we have, I should mention, we also have a toolbox. I don't know if I've mentioned that before. We have a lot of these calculators and these resources, but one of them is a nifty little toolbox with a ampacity calculator, emissivity calculator, adjustment tool that'll kind of help you pick the right emissivity value depending on what you're looking at. Because remember, that can change whether or not it's a kind of a oxidized copper bus versus a regular copper bus versus an aluminum versus oxidized aluminum versus plastic, insulation, black tape, things like that. It all changes. And all of this can affect the outcome. So again, when people think of just buying a thermal imaging camera and they get out there into the field and they just start shooting this on things, they get values. And if they're basing a report on these values and these values aren't very accurate, somebody could step in and create problems. So you want to, cross all your T's, dot all your I's, and understand what these things like emissivity mean. And so again, the one thing that I will tell you is that if you have improper emissivity and you don't understand it thoroughly, your results can be as much as 10, 20, 30, or even 40 degrees Fahrenheit off in error than what it actually is. And that's the difference between somebody saying, hey, this is something you need to monitor, or this is something that needs to be corrected right away. There's a big difference, okay? Big, huge difference. And so the first thing that I always tell people is you have to set your equipment up properly before you start diving in. And if you don't understand how to set the distance, how to do emissivity, if you don't understand reflection, if you don't understand these things, well, you're going to get a reading. You're going to get a value, but it doesn't mean squat because it's not an accurate number. Okay. So we have a tool for that, and it's available in the toolbox that's on our website. Okay. So that's just one of those things that we want to help you with, is making sure that you can get that. In fact, let me give you a quick kind of a rundown real quick. So let me see here, a real quick rundown of what we've got here for you. Okay, when you go to our website, thermalelectrician.com, you're going to see a home tab, you're going to see a resources tab, you're going to see a calculator tab. All of those have little arrows under it. That means there's a drop down. That means there's something underneath it. Now, if you're on a mobile device, it'll be the three little hamburgers. But once you click that, you will see it, and you'll see that there's little arrows and there's things underneath it. So that's the kind of the structure that we've set up. Now, under the home, you're going to see that we have the thermal blogs. Encourage you to read those blogs because they're very informative and you're going to learn something, I promise you. But under the resources, you're going to see that there is a long list of resources. There's the thermal toolbox. okay, which I told you about. The thermal toolbox, that's going to have the Sephora T and Delta T. This is very important to understand that you have two different temperatures and how you're going to determine what the Delta T is, because this is where you're going to be making decisions. There's a three-phase calculator, again, emissivity helper that helps you pick the right setting. There's some ampacity voltage drop, and there's even a report software. So if you want to use our software to create your reports in the field, there's a nifty one on there as well. So again, that's given to you. That's a resource. But if you go down the list, you're going to see that we have an IR window selection helper. And this is important because some people go to projects where you can't get into the equipment. So you're going to use a viewing window. And so, again, you have to understand that there's a distance requirement. That you need to know not only the distance from the equipment to the viewing window, but also to your equipment. And so this is where you got to plug in the right values. Okay, so we give you that, a helper tool. We have an ARC fault risk score analyzer. Again, understanding the risk you're associating with. We have a motor heat risk quick checklist. We have a thermal trend comparator, which is load normalization. It means you can put in loading information. It can keep you on a long-term basis. It allows you to monitor the load. So this is part of preventative maintenance and ongoing monitoring. We give you that little tool. It's pretty cool. We give you a reflected apparent temperature called an RAT quick tool. Again, that is an amazing little tool because you're able to put in various values. I don't know how often you'll use it, okay? But you enter your crumpled foil reflected reading to store the RAT value for the camera software settings. Okay, so you aim the camera. It's kind of interesting. You aim the camera at a crumpled piece of tin foil, like aluminum foil. Okay, and you place it the target angle and location, and you take the ambient temperature, that type of thing, and all this stuff. So it's kind of neat. I don't know how many people use that, but it's called a reflective apparent temperature RAT tool, that type of thing. So it's available. I don't know how many people would use that one, but it's there for you if you want to use that. Just one more tool. We have what's called an emissivity helper and a confidence meter. Okay. Again, this is similar to the other. You pick from a list, and it'll give you, for example, I just pick a number. And you can do custom yourself. Let's say electrical tape, which is typically emissivity of a 0.95. Okay. And the distance, let's say I'm going to be doing this at 0.3 meters. And the viewer angle, I'm going to try to stay close to probably like a 45 degree angle, right? And so when you do that, okay, and you selected a 0.95, moderate, good conditions for reliable comparative thermography readings. So it's about an 80% score, standard practice. Okay, so that's good. Now, that's the distance. When you change the distance, longer distance means more atmosphere plus a smaller target pixel. Okay, so again, it all is going to change depending on how your angle. Now, angle of view, the degrees is going to change. It should yield a higher confidence score. Means it's a good condition because you don't want to keep going too much in an angle from the target. Okay, so there's a sweet spot in there, and this helper kind of gives you that sweet spot and kind of helps you get your confidence up in your reading, that type of thing. So, for example, if I were to take electrical tape and have it on a piece of equipment, and the emissivity is as 0.95, and my distance is say 0.3, and it's a viewing angle of 10 degrees. Then the confidence score of the reading that I'm getting is about a 92%. And that is very good. Okay. So it's just, some things that help you in your confidence with the values that you're getting. Okay. That's all it is we create these tools to try to help make sure you get your confidence up as you're doing these. There's also a tool called the loose connection loss estimator. That's I²R estimator. So you put your current amps in there, you add any resistance and milliohms, okay? And then, of course, the hours per day, energy costs, and it will basically estimate the watts loss and annual costs caused by adding resistance. That is loose, oxidized, or under torqued connections. Okay. Great for explaining the impact to the customer. But again, you just can't make up a number, right? You just can't make up a number. You have to come up with some clear values. So I need to know what the kilowatt per hour charge is. I need to know the number of hours per day that it runs. I need to know what the resistance is in milliohms. So I'm going to have to take a reading. Okay. So again, you have to have the numbers. You know, the old saying, crap in, crap out. You got to know your numbers in order, but we create the calculators to try to make life a little easier for you. And then we have what's called a temperature rise versus load estimator. Now, this estimates severity based on temperature rise, that's the delta T, and approximate what it might look like at 100% loaded. Useful for consistent triage in the field. So you give it an ambient temperature, you measure the component that you're measuring, the hot spot, whatever it is that you got on your thermal imaging camera, you put that in there. Load at the time of the scan. Okay. If it's unknown, the best estimate is minimum 1%. But again, it's if you don't know. But if you do know what the loading is, put it in there. And then determine what the conductor or the connection is, whether it's copper or aluminum, that type of thing. And it's going to give you some value. So there's a bunch of those in there. But where it really starts to get is some of these calculators. And that's where you have the meter to feet and inches calculator. We have a very extensive voltage drop calculator that allows you to do parallel sets. Many voltage drop calculators out there don't let you do parallel sets. We have one that's designed for that. The other one, like I said, is the spot size and distance calculator. That's the FOV based. We have a 3-phase imbalance calculator, voltage or current. We have a breaker conductor load percentage calculator. We have a kW, kVA, and power factor calculator. And we have what's called a payback ROI calculator for repair versus loss. So this allows you to see how long it will take you if you have to make a repair, how long it will take you to fix that, to recoup your money, the return on investment for that repair. Is it something that needs to be done immediately? Or is it something that you can do down the road? Or how long will it cost you? Like if it's going to cost me $15,000 to fix something and because of the issue, it maybe is costing us $250 a day or $100 a day or whatever, based on the other calculations that we've done, based on resistance. You got to know the values. You just can't pull a number from anywhere. But it at least gives you a tool that you can plug in some numbers and get an understanding. If we know the kilowatt hours and we know what the load is and we can calculate that out, we can come up with the cost factor for that load. Now you plug it in, and now if it's costing you money, at least you can plug it in and get some kind of values that can share with your customer. But again, you're just not trying to sell them snake oil here. It's not how it works. Okay. So there's just quite a few things on our website. Now look for these things to also end up in your mobile app, which means that you can just click on it and boom, bring it right up on your mobile app. It just makes life a little easier for you down the road. And that will only be available to a certified thermal electrician. That will not be available to anybody else, the mobile version. So you got to be a certified thermal electrician to get our mobile app. And it means that many of these free calculators online will eventually go away once that mobile app is launched. Because again, we don't mind making them available to people. But at the end of the day, we create these things for our certified thermal electricians. And it doesn't matter if you're already a thermographer, you're already a professional that does this, you're adding our certification. If you're an electrician, you're just adding it to your resume. That's it. And you'll probably learn something that you didn't understand about electricity or about the NEC or the application that we're going to teach you in the program. And of course, I'm always here. We also have our own message board, which has a separate forum just for electrical thermographers that are in our program. So you can go there, post your questions, post your images, all that type of thing, and more than happy to respond to that. All right. All right, folks, that's pretty much it for this episode. I hope you got something out of it. For those out there that say, Paul, what happened to your exam prep? Well, we do a lot of stuff here. But, thermography and for electricians and the certified thermal electrician is a big thing for us. And we're teaching a lot of people how to add thermography to their current scope of business and then make those that do it just a little bit better. Okay. So check out our website, look at all the links, read the articles, read the blogs. People say, well, how does it compare to a level 1 thermography course? Go read it. We have a blog on that. We meet all the equal standards to that. There is no licensing for that, but you're already an electrician, so you've got that covered. We just teach you how to do it and that type of thing. So it's all available. Check it out at thermalelectrician.com. Check it out. Even if you're just curious, give it a look-see. And maybe you have a question. Maybe you're like, well, I'm just a residential guy. How can this help me on a residential project? Well, it most certainly can. And we can teach you why and how and when to do it. All right. All right, folks. Till next time, stay safe. God bless. We'll catch you on an upcoming episode of Master the NEC.
Thanks for tuning into another electrifying episode of the Master the NEC podcast. We hope you're feeling more powered up and ready to tackle the electrical world with the knowledge and confidence you need to succeed. Remember, in the electrical trade, knowledge is power, and we're here to make sure you stay plugged into the latest insights, tips, and code updates. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share the podcast with your fellow electricians and industry pros. Until next time, keep your tools sharp, your circuits clear, and your mind focused, because here at the Master the NEC podcast, we're all about sparking your success. Stay safe, stay smart, and keep mastering the trade. From all of us here at Electrical Code Academy, thank you for all your support, and we will see you on the next amazing Master the NEC podcast episode.